Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today on the show, we've got our good friend Luna. I've got to change up to my background. How you doing today, Luna?
Pretty good.
What you been up to?
Searching the internet for antiques and collectibles mostly lately.
Yeah.
Trying to invest some of the stimulus money.
Did you get your stimulus check?
Yeah.
All right. I hear a lot of people saying they haven't got theirs yet.
Yeah, I was one of the lucky ones. Last time I waited forever though. I was like a month or two after most people had already gotten theirs. The first one.
Well, I'm glad they fixed it this time. So, why don't you tell us about you and your projects? And that would have answered I was going to ask you why were you looking at antiques and all of that, but I think we should talk about you and your projects first, and then it'll lead us to that.
Oh yeah, like the pachinko machines and stuff.
Yeah, talk about it.
So I just started restoring a pachinko machine that belonged to my grandpa. I wish I could bring up a picture right now, but yeah, so I'm trying to restore that, kind of bring back the paint, repaint some of the areas, clean up the balls and the machine itself, and hopefully I just bought a second machine on eBay this week, which I'm hoping to reskin the background and actually kind of like make a custom themed machine out of. Not sure on the theme yet, but I kind of want to go for something like, I don't know, maybe H.P. Lovecraft or something along that theme wise.
I did well, first of all, let's step back a little bit. Some people might not know what a pachinko machine is.
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind kind of defining that and telling us? And do you want me to do a internet search and put it on the screen?
Yeah, you can search my Facebook page. It should be up. I posted a picture of it not too long ago when I got it set up.
All right. But actually, how would you describe it if you didn't have a picture?
Oh, it's basically it's a form of pinball, basically, but it's kind of a predecessor to modern pinball. We had very similar machines in the US prior to pinball becoming a thing, but over in Japan, it's become like a form of gambling similar to slot machines. In fact, some of the modern machines are actually combination pachinko slot machines. But yeah, in Japan, they don't have casinos though, and gambling's illegal. So pachinko is kind of developed as an alternative, and it's very similar to like the kids' arcades where you're trading in ticket prizes. So you're trading in literally buckets of these balls for like electronic items and snacks and coffee and stuff like that at the pachinko parlors.
That's pretty interesting, because I've got your I'm gonna share my screen real quick so people can see what this is. Let me get that full screen. Oops. Of course I mess it up. I didn't know that people used it for gambling. Oops. Those are
It's kind of a workaround. Like that's, I always refer to ticket arcades as honestly children's gambling, which is basically what it is. It's a work around the law to allow for gambling in places that don't allow gambling. Is a ticket redemption, or in this case, you're redeeming the literal pachinko balls themselves.
Why am I missing this?
Oh, it's not in my.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to get a bigger picture, but yeah, this is beautiful. And that's the machine that you own. That was your grandfather's.
Yep. That's when I first set it up. I've already started like repainting, like over towards like the bottom right corner of the machine where the name is. Like I've repainted some of that, and I've redone some of the centerpieces. Is mostly where the paint actually exists that needs to be repainted. So using like basically model enamel paint to find the closest colors I can to restore it to original condition. This one
That's
This
pretty
one I plan
sweet.
to keep in its original condition, though I may try and get the original background reprinted eventually and like fully restore it.
So how does this work? What happens here? If you can
Oh,
describe it a little bit for us.
yeah, so you see there's a little lever in the bottom right. And that basically how you launch the balls. And then the balls come out and kind of circle on the top. You can see that where the two sheets of metal are kind of next to each other on the left, that's where the ball pops out.
Okay.
Um, and then they bounce around the little pin, which is where pinball gets its name. Is old school pinball machines had active pins like the pachinko does. Um, yeah, and then you're trying to get it in these little prize holes on the bottom. There's 5 of them on the bottom. The center prize hole is actually like if you get it in one of the center sides, it'll open up. If you notice the little prize holes, they're actually like little flowers that open up when you score a point.
On
Every
here
time you get a
somewhere?
ball, yep. Every time you get in there, it drops out like 10 or 20 more balls for you.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it fun to play?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun in the same way like slot machines and stuff are fun. I mean, you're not really doing a whole lot, but like it just holds your attention. I kind of grew up with this one. Like this is what I was doing during like all my family get-togethers when we were out at my grandpa's house growing up. So this was like the one thing I asked for when he passed away this summer.
Hmm. Well, first of all, sorry to hear that about your grandpa being this recent. So, um, so are you an artist too?
Not a ton, really. Like not much since I was young. Um, like not real talented. Like I'm more into like restoring things though. Like I like repairing and restoring things more and kind of repurposing stuff a lot. So like the art I do is more like trying to repurpose stuff. I did just get a bunch of decoupage supplies though, recently, and I plan to do some decoupage art using old comic books basically.
It
Since
it would.
a lot of the old comic books like don't hold like specifically anything like late 80s and beyond especially are generally worthless. So but there's tons of art to use in them to use for like decoupage and stuff to make superhero themed art.
Well, it sounds like an artist to me.
Yeah.
Um, and so tell us. So that's one project, and you hope to restore those and sell some of them, right?
Yeah.
And do you ever think about like having an arcade of them or anything?
Oh, I would love to, but it's a rough business in America. Like arcades are hard. I mean, you've probably heard about Pinball Pete's. I think that was in the City Pulse this week. Pinball Pete's is struggling to stay afloat, and that's been a staple arcade for years. Though I will
Yeah, they
say,
go
like
ahead.
Pinball Pete, I think their downfall for me, anyways, was when they implemented the ticket arcade. Like when it became about tickets rather than actual gaming. And I think that's the downfall of American arcades versus where Japanese arcades, they're very much experiential games. You have all sorts of games similar to like the Dance Dance or the Guitar Hero type games where you're interacting with something that you can't necessarily get that same experience at home, you know. And that's really
Yeah,
the key to successful arcades, I feel.
I used to be in I think it was called Aardvark Arcade or something like
Yeah.
that on the south side a long time ago. I used to be in there every day.
I remember
So
putt putts. I don't even remember where it was, but I remember going to a place called Putt Putts with my dad as a kid in the early 90s. And like had a big giraffe in the putt putt course behind it.
It was that out by Edru, maybe. I don't know. We're gonna be reminiscing about locations of places.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was. I think they put the giraffe and stuff on top of Edgery, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Or
Yeah. So, what else do you do? That's one project.
I try to be involved in my community when I'm more stable and stuff, like, and when I'm able to.
Yeah. How's
Try to be,
try to what?
just try and be involved. I'm involved in the LGBT and like the disabled community. Specifically the autism community. I'm more involved with within the disabled community. And now I've been trying to get involved also with some of the leftist organizations locally to try and do some more actual community organizing
What
as well.
on the leftist side? What are you trying to get involved with right now? What's the thing that's making you like passionate? Mine
The
is UBI and healthcare.
Kind of a lot of the socialist movements on it. Like I am a very vocal socialist, and I'm for the healthcare is a major thing for me, especially being disabled. Like I feel that's one of the major inhibitors for me. Like it, I feel sometimes it's not worth me taking the risk to find a full-time job and get off disability completely unless I'm able to find something that pays at least 30K or more a year, because if I risk losing my health insurance in that process because I have Medicare and Medicaid, like if I risk losing those, like I'm screwed if I have one hospitalization. And I've averaged maybe a week, a year in a hospital since I was about 20. And about $10,000 bill and copays alone and stuff each time. Yeah, like it just isn't realistically worth it for me to lose that insurance. And if we all had that insurance, that would the biggest barrier towards me like taking that risk to go back to working full time somewhere would be out of the way completely.
So Medicare for all would be significant for you.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't improve. Like I already have Medicare, but it would literally just be ensuring that I won't lose Medicare if I decide to go back to work. And that's what it's about to me. Like that's why I don't risk working a full-time job. Like too, I mean, it's not worth the stress for me because my history, a lot of times the jobs have been contributing factors, especially when working for some corporate sleep company. Like it's not worth the added stress when I'm really not bringing in much more money doing it. Like the system forces you to kind of be dependent on it. Either that or risk losing everything. And if you lose everything and then you fall back down, you have nothing to catch yourself with and nothing to stop you from falling all the way back down to the start again. It's not easy to get Social Security. It's not easy to get Medicare, especially at my age. And if I were to have to fight for it again, it would be a hard battle once again, possibly harder than it was the first time because they've gotten a lot worse. And it's like, I know I have talents, but I know my disabilities also have gotten in the way. My mental health specifically has gotten in the way of holding down more traditional jobs. I'm more likely to go dumpster diving and find some antiques that someone threw out. Like, no, I've found money and made money off dumpster diving before. Like, I don't give a crap how I do it, but I'd rather do that than work as a corporate slave. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
So, a couple things. One is when you said 30,000 a year, that's about $15 an hour.
Yeah.
If you're working full time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion. I actually think, at the Fledge, we use $15 as a baseline. We don't really want to promote things if they're not paying at least that. But I'm really re-looking at that and thinking 2025 might be a better number to consider. Well, it's always better to be paid more for your renting your life, basically. So what do you have thoughts on that? Do you think 15 is a good target? Do you have
for minimum, like absolute minimum, yes. I'd say it's a decent target. I think we should strive for higher than that for sure. But if we strive too high, too quickly, I believe it can have problems. Specifically, like one issue in the disability community is we're having trouble. We want to get rid of the sheltered workshops, which are basically a workaround that people can use by the government to pay people with disabilities less than minimum wage. And the thing is, when you're on disability and stuff, and even if you're getting paid minimum wage, more than half of that is generally being taken off benefits. So if you're getting realistically $10 an hour while you're getting benefits, you're bringing home less than $5 a month, which really disincentivizes actually going back to work, knowing that you're less valued. Like, is at least that's kind of the mental factor that's kind of at play in a lot of people's head. Like, is this really worth my time if I'm realistically bringing home less than $5 an hour?
that's that's the unintended consequences of everybody trying to make this really complicated. And it's real quick, somebody asked me what UBI was, so I just want to put up there that UBI equals universal basic income. And I also want to say I'm doing an experiment on Facebook today too. And all of your Facebook users, I don't know who you are. It's only saying Facebook user. So someone's calling or looking in from Dubai. I could guess maybe Rashid, maybe Colin or Lena or someone. But hi to Dubai.
Yeah.
I thought we might talk a little bit about this subject, but you're really opening up a lot of interesting things that I think we should talk about.
UBI,
do you know?
Yeah, UBI specifically. It's my opinion is pretty much the same as it is for Medicare. Like, again, if I knew my Social Security wasn't going anywhere, I'd be getting my ass out looking for work in a second. But right now, I'd rather look for volunteer positions than work for a corporation where I'm going to be treated like dirt.
Yeah. So actually not having that, well, I'll call it a safety net, but I'm not sure I love that term, but not having that safety net that you could do anything you want in your career if you didn't have to worry about healthcare going away or changing, or you clawing your way back into it. What do you think the biggest argument against Medicare for all is?
Socialism is scary. I don't know. Like it's really, it comes down to taxes and how it's going to be paid for. And the other argument is really it's a bureaucratic argument, and that argument I will say is fair. And I've experienced that being a Medicare, Medicaid patient. The bureaucracy is really annoying at times, but it's honestly not all that different from the bureaucracy of getting things covered with private insurance. But it is a little more like kind of the stereotypical bureaucracy. It's a bunch of people pushing paper around to get one thing done when you could have just had the guy do it rather than have 50 people approve it along the way. You know, and it ends up costing them often more money. Like they end up spending more money in redundancy than they'd be in driving up costs for needless paperwork often. A good example, kind of bureaucracy at play from. So when I was at CMH once, they had to they wouldn't accept my pills, so they had to get medications shipped, like 3 days medication shipped while I was in crisis services once. And so like the bill for me was like 70 cents or less. Like so far I've gotten like 4 or 5 letters in the mail asking me to pay the 70 cents. And they've spent 50 something cents every time they sent it to me. Like literally they've paid more to tell me about this 75 cents, like double or triple like what I owe. Yeah, that's bureaucracy at play, and there is issues with that, like for sure. And I'm not going to deny those at all, but and that's where the rich people really don't want to have to sit under a bureaucracy, because they're afraid, oh no, I'm not going to be able to pay my way out of an illness and get to the front of the line, and that's what it's really about. It's a lot of people think that, oh no, a poor person might be guaranteed the same place in line that I'm guaranteed. And I think that scares them. They think it's going to put them at a disadvantage often, which there are cases of that. And it does happen. But it's still better than the current system, where people are straight up dying or going without health care because they can't get it, they can't afford it, and they can't afford to to live under medical debt the rest of their lives.
Right. And at some point they end up passed out somewhere, picked up by an ambulance, taken to the emergency room anyway, and still responsible for that bill. So we're actually
involuntary. Yeah, if you're involuntary, you're still responsible for the bill in mental health. Yeah.
And if we did more preventative things, people coming in frequently on their scheduled appointments and getting their medicine, getting their whatever therapy or anything else that they might have, then that might be steady in these crisis moments where it requires emergency rooms or ambulances or the police and cases that really I don't like at all. Then it's even more costly. So we could really reduce a lot of cost if we could get people assurance that they could do preventative measures, they could do their health checks,
Yeah. Oh, and like honestly, that's where the problem is. There isn't those community services. Like when they shut the institutions back in the day, they were supposed to place it with community services, which is what CMH is. But it's just not. It's an inefficient bureaucracy. Not like there are good things about bureaucracies too, and they're often needed for legal reasons and stuff like that. But again, when you I just think of Hermes from Futurama when I think of bureaucrats. And it's a great parody of it, but it's kind of true. Like, you see what's going on with the back 40 right now in Lansing. There's bureaucracies helping them, but they've not actually worked with the people. They're trying to force the people into a solution that they want instead of actually working with the people and what the people living at the back 40 actually want, and you see that, and then we're called villains for protesting that. And
that's another one. I went to the back 40 and I sat with 6 of them, and I talked with them for a little while, and all 6 would move to an apartment, but the path to get there is so difficult and so confusing and so held up by the people that are, it seems like you should be able to process this in 2 seconds, and it's taking weeks. And then there's things like they want them to go to a shelter, but they all are saying, no way, I'd rather live here than spend one night in a shelter.
Oh, me too. Like, honestly, if I was on the streets, I would prefer to camp out than be in a shelter any day. Like, I know what happens in those places, and especially during a pandemic though too, like cramming people together and moving them around from the area they know, moving all their possessions, it does not sound like a good idea. And
yeah, sounds like a horrible idea to me. So you had, you were starting an organization. I think you said it's kind of leveling off a little bit. And was that called LGBTQ Abilities?
yeah,
I never said it.
abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Order doesn't matter.
With your insight of like what you just described, I thought you taught me a couple of key things for sure that I'm going to take away from this. What's your plan with that? Are you, just kind of, I think you said there's 5 guys that meet once in a while, and
there's about 4 or 5 of us that meet fairly, like we meet once a month just on Zoom and stuff and just chat. So it's more just turned into kind of a social group, I'd say. Like it's still kind of a support focus, more like a social support, like is kind of how I feel about it. We're just a few people meeting and chilling once a month, and just we're kind of all friends, and a lot of us talk to each other on the side already. So it's like there's really not a need for it. Like we're not getting a lot of new traffic anyways, so it's like, well, we're just all hanging out anyways, so we don't really need the unnecessary paperwork and stuff of being an actual organization at this point.
Yeah. So has the pandemic been really tough with the isolation and the the orders to stay home and stuff like that? Has that been pretty tough on you?
Honestly, I've had a really good year, like compared to like, no, I hate to say it, but like 2020 was pretty great for me, which sounds horrible, but like, I mean, thankfully I'm one of the lucky ones. I don't have anyone like close to me who's died of COVID or anything like that. I mean, I had relatives die, but it wasn't from COVID. But no, I quit smoking last year. I pretty much quit drinking pop, or at least now only drink it maybe like once a week. Like I'm making a lot of healthy decisions, and it's funny. Like I stopped seeing a therapist, and all of a sudden life started getting, and like seriously, I haven't seen a therapist since COVID started. I had just started seeing a new therapist because my old one had retired in December last year, who I had for years, and he retires. I get this new one, and then COVID happens at like 3 or 4 meetings into this new guy I was working with. And yeah, I was having technology issues at the time, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna wait this out. It can't be that long, right? That we're shut down. Not thinking it would go on in like a year now. So
Well, 2 things with that for you. One is we've got the telemedicine studio downstairs now. If you ever want to jump on a call, if you ever have to jump on a call where you're having tech issues or something. And then we also do therapy Thursdays every Thursday morning at 9. If you ever want to jump on with us, we do
nice.
breathing and meditation and everything.
Do you still have the refuge recovery group going out there?
None of them meet live yet, but we're talking about how we're going to bring that back together, but it's all virtual right now.
Cool.
So and we have NA on Saturday afternoons today at 4. So yeah. So this was that part that you talked about with Medicare or Medicaid, and how it discourages you from going out and doing a job because it would screw you. I also know that it discourages people from starting businesses. They're nervous as to if they start making too much money, they're going to lose these benefits. But it took them so long to get the benefits.
Yeah. Or it's like I have to go roundabout ways, like to make it like there's kind of rules, like there's kind of exceptions to some things. Like I can have a yard sale and I don't necessarily have to report those types of earnings. It's not really typically considered earned income. But if I start selling on Facebook or something, I have to report every dime of that. And if they're taking 50% away out of every dollar I make, when I'm selling stuff cheap to sell, like I'm literally losing money at that point.
Right.
Like I literally would be losing money by running a business.
So there's one part of the government that wants the economy moving and people spending and earning and all of that. There's another part of the government trying to save all this money with these silly controls and these silly requirements, and they're just fighting against each other.
Yeah.
I guess it's time to put this up. Your examples have been great, and it's so stupid what the bureaucracy is doing. In particular, they were talking about the 70 cents and the several pieces of mail that they had to pay for to try to collect it.
They haven't sent one in a while, so I think they're getting the clue that I'm just laughing every time I get one. No, like I literally am refusing to pay it just because it makes me laugh. Like every time I get one in the mail, I just find it hysterical. Like, yeah. So I'm making a point not to pay. If it was $20, I'd pay it. But the fact that it's 70 cents or something, it's just too good to pay.
So would you say that you have a personal mission or a whatever you're going to be doing with the restoration of the machines? Like what's your mission?
Like I'd kind of like to get more like a modern audience. Like they've really stuck in Japan like crazy, and part of that's pachinko parlors and the gambling workaround. It's the closest thing to legal gambling you can get in Japan. But I think there's like a lot of missed opportunities. Like even if not like opening actual pachinko parlors and stuff like here, like just bringing them, like they were huge in the 70s. That's why like bringing them to a new audience is kind of my goal of it. Helping, like, basically I want to redesign these old machines that they made hundreds of thousands of them, got imported here in the 70s. But they've kind of fallen into disrepair, a lot of them. They've fallen out of fashion, and they never really took hold in America. But I'd like to bring new life to the machines and kind of upcycle them for a new generation, because there's like they're pretty cheap market to get into compared to something like pinball. Buying a single pinball machine, you're spending $4,000+, and you're restoring it exactly like it came generally, because that's the point of the pin machine often, especially some high-end one. The pachinko machines, they're very standardized, and kind of they weren't real creative with their design schemes at times. Some of them were. There's some really cool ones, especially the newer machines. But like I feel like a redesign is honestly needed to bring them to the newer generations. And that's why I'm thinking, like I could just totally redesign a machine to be like H.P. Lovecraft or some other basically unlicensed old school characters that are free to use. like in art, and yeah, just upcycle these old machines to try and bring new life into them. Hoping to eventually get a hold of some coin op. They did have coin operated ones that I think would be great for like the bar scene, and trying to maybe market some of those machines. I think, uh, uh, yeah, just kind of maybe getting them into. They tend to do well in like punk bars and stuff, from what I hear.
Yeah, I can imagine them at the Avenue right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Like especially with the coin op feature, I think that's the way to go though, to bring them to a commercial audience.
Yeah.
But those can be harder to find. And the biggest issue I'm running across really is the shipping, because shipping any big heavy machine like that costs a fortune. Like you're paying more than you pay for the machine to ship them.
Yeah. So, is there something you do every damn day that pushes that mission forward?
Huh. I don't know. My days can be very varied. I mean, I go on lots of rants on Facebook, and
Me too.
like I'm basically, yeah, I'm on social media, specifically Facebook. I never really got into Twitter or the other ones, but I've been using Facebook since you still needed the college ID to get it, and I miss those days so much sometimes. Um, but yeah, I try and be kind of a online social media activist, especially during COVID, since you can't, I do get out for certain things. Like I was out for a couple of the Black Lives Matter events. I've been out at the Back 40 a couple times, like 2 or 3 times. I've been out there when they were trying to push them out more. We're still kind of like, I'm still involved in the background. I haven't been out there as much lately. I've just been sticking home since the holidays, because worried about another COVID spike partly after the holidays. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
try and get away from people.
we daisy chain the shows together. So that means that yesterday someone was on the show, they have a question for you, and you're going to ask a question to the guest tomorrow. So the question from yesterday comes from Pat the Burner. He is a political satirist, has a parody account, and is very much in line with what we're talking about today: Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, all the stuff that all of us used to talk about in this room a year ago.
Yeah.
What his question is how can allies of either the LGBTQ community or people with disabilities, how can your allies, people who sincerely want to do better, what are some of the mistakes they made? How can they do better to be a better ally?
I think a lot of people really do try to be a good ally, at least within our two communities. We try to be allies for each other, and we understand that the other community exists. Uh, the issue I see is you have like intersectionality is really the biggest subject at play, and we need to recognize it, and we need to fight for each other. We need these different communities to come together and actually be there for each other. We do a lot of recognizing of these groups, but like we don't actually fight for our common interest often. Like we don't fight, we won't stand up when we see other people being oppressed if it doesn't directly affect us often. And that's a problem I see in a lot of these kind of identity-based communities. And intersectionality is going to be found in all these communities. I mean, it's not all straight white men with one single, like, it's in the disability community. It's not all, you know, yeah, just intersectionality is key, and we need to just focus on that and be there for each other. It took how many years for white people to start standing up for Black Lives Matter and realizing it's actually an issue, and people are still resisting it.
Yeah,
You know,
there's still
and
way too many resistant.
but like finally this summer, we really saw like people on the left starting to support it openly, and that's a good sign. But we also need, we need all these communities to fight for each other. We need Black people and queers fighting for the gay community, the LGBT community. We need, or disabled community. We need the disabled people and to be fighting for people of color. We need all these different groups fighting together, and we need to come together and have general strikes and stuff as communities. We need to, all come together because there's power in the people, and that's what's important.
I really felt over the summer that, there was a bus that is filled with all of the people that are, oppressing others. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, we were shaking that bus and we were rocking that bus and we were trying to tip that bus over. And I really did feel like a lot of the intersectionality is the word you're using, but intersectional groups were pushing that bus too. And I thought that was spectacular.
Yeah. Intersectionality was kind of the whole basis for me starting the LGBT disability group. Was like, there specifically in that one, there's needs that are unique to people that are part of both communities at once. Just like a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Yeah, exactly. Shit, what was I saying?
Sorry, I distracted you with that. I didn't mean to do that. You want to go on to the next thing, or you want to think that through? So tomorrow on the show, I've got Trevor Devine. He's originally from Grand Ledge, but lives out in Minneapolis right now. He's a musician. I don't know the name of his genre, but it's I don't know. He's out by Prince, so it's probably something really cool and something really electrical and all that. So, or where Prince used to be, I guess. So, what question would you like to pass to Trevor?
So, if you could play any one instrument that you don't play currently, what would it be?
All right. So, what instrument he needs to add to his arsenal or quiver or whatever, right? Well, and you still playing the guitar?
I don't really play guitar too much. Mostly do wind instruments myself.
I thought you were here trying to play the guitar before. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So what instrument would you like to learn if you could learn a new one? And what instruments do you play?
Mostly just like Irish tin whistle and different variants of like whistles and flutes. I do a little bit of harmonica. I suck at reading music though. I can read sheet music, but I'm slow with it, so I mostly play by ear. But mostly just tin whistle. I did just get a duduk. Not sure in the exact pronunciation, but it is a Christmas present, so I've been slowly messing around with it, but still I'm just getting it. The reed needs to be conditioned more, but this is like a Armenian wind instrument with it's a dual reeded wind instrument though.
Can you do you know how to play it right now, or can you make a noise with it?
Possibly. I don't know. It depends if the reed's conditioned properly right now. No, I don't think I'll be able to. You have to condition the reed beforehand. Basically wet it down a bit to loosen it up to actually make that buzzing noise. I suggest looking them up. It's a very unique instrument from Armenia, though, and they have a really nice tone to them. They say they kind of mimic the human voice tonally. But there's a really good song in the movie Gladiator that that really emphasized the duduk really well.
How do you spell that?
Duduk.
Buduk?
Yep.
Oops,
They're
I
from
might have
Armenia.
lost you for a second.
It's basically like the national.
Duduk?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I put that in the chat. All right. So, but did you answer what instrument you wanted to learn to play?
Oh, well, I'm hoping to learn to play the duduk. Like that's one of my favorite wind instruments that I've never really messed with. Though I'd love to play a traditional flute as well. I've always sucked at trying to get noise out of any type of like flute or fife type instrument. They're just like they're very tricky to get started on in general if you're not used to that kind of mouthpiece. Where a whistle is like tin whistles and like recorders and those type of a lot of reeded ones are fairly simple to play. I have like a whole collection actually. Yeah, like I have tons of different wind instruments in here from all over the world.
Cool. Nice. So, as we come to the end here, you're still with me, right? Yeah. As we come to the end of the show here, I'm looking at tomorrow and what's going on in our capital with the fencing going up, the boards going up on the windows and all of that. Are you going to stay home?
I don't know. Honestly, I might I would be interested in countering that, but I don't really feel like going against armed radicalized people who are still, if they're out there at this point, they're like very dangerous. It's kind of my like literally after what happened last week, like anyone who's still supporting him and still going out there despite knowing what happens, like I mean that woke a lot of people up, honestly. What happened a week ago woke a ton of people up. It's unfortunate it had to take that to wake them up, but it did wake a lot of people up. But the people who are remaining are the most dangerous of his supporters. And at this point, like, I don't know if I'd want to be near them. Like, it doesn't sound like, I just tell everyone to stay away if possible, honestly. Though, if you're out there to counter protest, good, be safe, be smart. Do not try and start altercations with people with guns. Just be smart about it.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate that too. This fight doesn't have to be our fight tomorrow. We can let them fight. The National Guard's there, the police are there, the state police are there. There's bastards on both sides, so let them fight it out. And we can sit this one out and be safe, because there's nothing good that's going to come out of tomorrow and the coming days.
Fight each other.
So, yeah. Hey, man, thank you so much. I shouldn't say, you know what? I forgot. We should have talked about Comrade. I'm glad that, because you put Comrade Luna as the subject for today. And as we look at all of the different genders, people say, oh, there's 2 genders or there's 3 genders, but there's an infinite amount of genders, right? And I just said, hey, man, and I don't know if that's good with you or not good with you. You use they, them.
Fine. I prefer they, them, but I don't take offense to it. Like, I present fairly masculine, and I understand that, but
didn't you tell me that Comrade was a good alternative to
yeah,
like
oh yeah,
sir and madam and yeah,
great. I think it's perfectly gender neutral. Um,
yeah.
no, like what, like I've considered a while getting my name legally changed, and like the debate now is, do I actually make Luna my first name, or do I make my first name legally Comrade to force conservatives to address me as Comrade?
I
And
would definitely do that if I were you. I like
just for
that a
that
lot.
purpose, to have cops and like right-wing people have to address me as Comrade. I just would have a lot
Yeah,
of
I
fun
like
with
it. All right, so we're gonna say goodbye. I think that would be fun too. Um, as we start to say goodbye, is there anything you want to take us out with? Any word of advice? Anything you want to say?
that. I don't
Frozen
know.
up.
Mhm.
All right. On that note, I'm gonna say everybody see. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. They were freezing up for a moment, but
Good.
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very, very much for being on the show, and I love seeing you. You used to come around here a lot, and we miss you. So he didn't get to hear me say that, but I will see you later. And thanks for being on the show. And stay tuned tomorrow for Trevor Devine and another episode of Every Damn Day. See you, Luna.
Peace.